I trusted my boss. Like a mentor, until I realized she was taking credit for all my work and setting me up to fail. She had no idea how anything worked without me, and when I left, I made sure she crashed and burned. When I first started working under Claire, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. She was charming, confident, well-respected. Everything a young guy like me could hope for in a mentor. She made me feel like my ideas mattered, like my future was safe in her hands. At least, that's what I believed in the beginning. For months, I worked hard. Long hours, late nights, weekends I didn't even tell my friends about. Every new project, every new system optimization, every creative solution we came up with, it felt like we were building something together. Until I started noticing something. At every department meeting, it wasn't we, it was her. Every idea I pitched during late-night brainstorming sessions somehow became her brilliant innovation the next morning. Every improvement I designed was presented as her strategic breakthrough. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe she just misspoke. Maybe it was easier for her to take the lead because she had more experience, right? I didn't want to believe the obvious. I didn't want to think that the person I trusted most was using me as a ladder, but the more I ignored it, the worse it got. And when I finally realized just how deep the betrayal ran, I knew I couldn't just walk away quietly. Number I was going to leave on my own terms, and make sure Claire's carefully polished empire crumbled the moment I walked out the door. My name's Jason. I was 25 when all this started. Fresh out of grad school, degree in information systems clutched in my sweaty hands, head full of ideas about how I was going to change the world, or at least make a decent dent in it. When I landed a role at one of the more prestigious companies in the city, a name you'd probably recognize, but for obvious reasons, I'll leave it out. I thought I'd finally made it. Big glass offices, endless coffee machines, people in sharp suits moving fast, making deals, building futures. It was everything I had dreamed of while pulling all-nighters in tiny library cubicles. Claire was the head of IT operations. At my first team meeting, she gave this big speech about innovation, about nurturing young talent, about building the future together. She even looked right at me when she said it, flashing that bright, confident smile that made you feel like you mattered. And I bought every word of it. At first, she seemed like the mentor everyone hopes for. She took time to walk me through company systems, introduced me to higher-ups from other departments, even casually mentioned my name during big meetings, making it sound like I was destined for great things. It felt good, really good. I threw myself into the work like my life depended on it. Redesigned outdated back-end systems that nobody had touched in years. Streamlined inventory management processes that saved huge operational costs. Built new automation scripts that slashed employee onboarding time by almost 40%. I wasn't just doing my job. I was building real value. And every time Claire smiled and said, "You're doing amazing work, Jason," I felt like I was finally where I was supposed to be. So I worked harder, came in earlier, stayed later, answered emails at 2 a.m. if needed. Because I believed, maybe foolishly, that loyalty still meant something, that hard work was noticed, rewarded. I thought I was investing in my future, but the truth was, Claire wasn't investing in me. She was investing in my work, to cash it out for herself. It started small, little things most people probably wouldn't even notice, or if they did, they'd write it off as nothing. The first time was during a monthly departmental meeting. Claire was presenting our team's recent achievements to upper management, a routine update, nothing huge. I sat there in the back of the room, sipping burnt coffee from a paper cup, feeling proud. We just finished overhauling the internal ticketing system, a project I had designed, built, and implemented almost single-handedly. Claire clicked through the slides, talking fast and smiling wide. After analyzing workflow bottlenecks, I developed a more efficient platform that cuts down resolution time by 30%, she said. I blinked. I developed it. I'd spent nights testing it, tweaking it, breaking it down, and building it back up. Claire hadn't touched a single line of code. At first I told myself it was nothing. Semantics. Maybe she meant we, but said I. Easy mistake when you're nervous presenting, right? I wanted to believe that, because the alternative, that she was stealing my work to prop herself up, wasn't something I was ready to face yet. But it didn't stop there. In email summaries sent to the executives, my name was conspicuously missing. Projects that I had architected were now being summarized in polished reports with Claire's signature at the bottom. During hallway conversations, when directors congratulated her on innovative new protocols, she smiled graciously and never once mentioned me. It wasn't just oversight, it was deliberate. Still, I tried to shake it off, told myself I was overreacting. New guy paranoia, a need for recognition that I should learn to suppress if I wanted to survive corporate life. But the pit in my stomach grew heavier with each passing week. Every win felt a little less like a celebration and a little more like a theft. And somewhere deep down I started to realize I wasn't building my future here. I was building hers, brick by brick. idea by idea, and if I didn't wake up soon, there wouldn't be anything left for me at all. The moment I knew, really knew, came on a random Thursday afternoon. It was supposed to be a quick update meeting with one of our major vendors. Nothing special. Just a status check on some infrastructure upgrades I'd been spearheading for the last 6 months. Claire pulled me into a conference room 15 minutes before the call. "I'll take lead on this one," she said, smoothing her blazer sleeves like she was about to step onto a stage. "You just back me up if they ask for technical details, okay?" I nodded, still trying to convince myself this was fine. Standard protocol, maybe. She was the department head, after all. The vendor team logged into the call, a dozen tiny faces blinking at us from the screen. Claire launched into the presentation like a seasoned pro, and that's when it happened. Slide after slide, metric after metric, milestone after milestone. She described everything in the first person. I designed the migration strategy. I optimized the server load balancing. I led the security overhaul project. I sat there, staring at the screen, feeling like the walls were closing in around me. I had stayed up till 3 a.m., mapping the migration pathways. I had rewritten load balancer scripts from scratch. I had spent weekends patching security vulnerabilities while my friends were out living normal lives. And here she was, selling my work like it was a purse she picked up at some high-end store, a shiny thing she could flash to impress the important people. For the first time, I let myself see it clearly. Claire wasn't clueless. She wasn't just overconfident. She knew exactly what she was doing. She wasn't building a team. She was building a throne. And she was stacking it on the broken backs of people like me. The call ended. Claire turned to me with that familiar bright smile. "Great work today, Jason. You make me look good," she said, half laughing like it was some kind of inside joke. I smiled back. But inside, something snapped. Right there in that over-air-conditioned conference room with the flickering fluorescent light, I made a decision. If she was so proud to stand on the work she didn't understand, then maybe it was time she found out what it felt like to stand alone. The offer came 2 weeks later. I wasn't looking for it, not actively anyway. But apparently, someone from another firm had seen one of the automation projects I built. Word had gotten around quietly, like it always does in tech circles. A recruiter reached out through LinkedIn. Very professional, very casual. "Hey, Jason, I heard some great things about your work. Are you open to new opportunities?" Normally, I would have hesitated. Loyalty meant something to me. Or at least it used to. But sitting at my desk that afternoon, staring at another team announcement email where Claire's name was plastered all over my latest system upgrade, I realized something simple and brutal. This place wasn't loyal to me. Why the hell was I loyal to it? I agreed to take the call. The new company was a dream. Better pay, more responsibility, actual respect for technical talent instead of hollow promises and pretty speeches. When they sent the official offer letter a week later, I barely had to think. I accepted. But I didn't hand in my resignation right away. Not yet. Because somewhere deep down, I knew that simply walking away wasn't enough. Claire had built her house of cards on my work. Systems she didn't understand, automations she didn't even know existed, processes so finely tuned they practically ran themselves. And the best part? Nobody else in the department really knew how it all fit together either, because Claire didn't believe in documenting workflows. Too restrictive, she always said. She liked things loose, flexible, controlled solely through her, which worked, as long as the person actually running the engine stayed quiet and obedient. I wasn't planning on being quiet anymore, and I sure as hell wasn't planning on leaving her a map. I could have left quietly. I could have accepted the new job, packed up my things, and disappeared without a sound. But Claire made that impossible. It happened the day after I signed the new offer letter. She called me into her office, one of those big glass-walled ones at the end of the hall, where you could see the whole floor but still feel like you were on display. She was smiling that fake smile she used when she wanted something. "Jason," she said sweetly, folding her hands over a stack of printouts I recognized immediately. Scripts I had written, workflows I had built, reports I had pulled and analyzed. "I need you to finish documenting all of your current processes. You know, just in case we ever need to train someone else down the line." She laughed like it was a joke, but it wasn't, not even close. Because sitting on her desk next to the printouts was a draft, I could see it upside down, of a proposal for her promotion. A promotion based entirely on the infrastructure she was about to claim full credit for, without me, without so much as a thank you. "It's not urgent," she added, flipping the papers over with a little shrug. "But let's get it done by the end of the week, okay? I know you can handle it." Translation: do all the hard work. Hand it over, make it easy for me to replace you, and then get out of the way. Something inside me went cold. I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time I saw her clearly. The way she leaned back in her chair like a queen surveying a pawn, The way her eyes flicked past me like I was already invisible. She didn't see me. Not the kid who rebuilt their crumbling systems. Not the guy who covered her mistakes. Not the reason she was even being considered for a higher position. She saw a tool, and now she was done using it. "Sure," I said, forcing a polite smile. "I'll get right on it." I walked out of her office, straight to my desk, sat down, and started making a very different kind of list. Not documentation, not training materials. I started listing every script, every backend trigger, every customized process I had ever built into the company's infrastructure. And then I made a second list, how to quietly dismantle them, without breaking anything visible, without leaving a trace, without giving her a single clue until it was too late. If Claire wanted to stand on my work without even knowing how it held together, then I was going to let her. But when the screws came loose, when the system started collapsing one by one under her brand new polished title, there wouldn't be anyone left to blame but herself. She wanted the throne, she could have it, but she was about to find out exactly how much she never understood about the kingdom she thought she ruled. The beauty of systems is that if you build them right, no one really notices when you start pulling the pieces apart. At least, not at first. I didn't do anything loud. No deleting files, no smashing servers, nothing that would set off alarms or trigger alerts. I simply started quietly removing myself from the system, piece by calculated piece. First, I revoked my personal admin-level scripts. All the little automations I had written to keep things running smooth, gone. The overnight database cleanups, disabled. The backup syncs that required manual correction because the vendor's system never really worked right. Yeah, those were my late-night fixes. Pulled. Then I changed the master passwords for the minor maintenance tasks I had built. The ones nobody else even knew needed constant adjustments. Officially, I logged everything under routine security updates. No one blinked an eye. In tech, security updates are as common as coffee stains and missed deadlines. After that, I quietly scrubbed my internal documentation, the notes I had kept for myself that mapped out every hidden dependency, every workaround I had designed to keep Claire's so-called optimized systems from crashing. I deleted the personal flowcharts from my cloud drives, formatted the USB backups I sometimes used off hours, cleaned my local machine so well it could have passed a forensic audit. And then came the final touch. I updated the internal directory permissions. Subtle tweaks, tiny changes. Just enough that, once I left, any attempt to access certain maintenance systems would require an admin-level override that, funny enough, only I knew. Not sabotage, not damage. Just a silent unraveling, one thread at a time, until the whole polished machine Claire was so proud of started seizing up from the inside. Without the quiet work I had been doing daily, the delicate invisible tasks that kept everything humming, the system would stay functional for a little while. Maybe a few days, maybe a week. Long enough for Claire to flash her new title around. Long enough for the board to congratulate her. Long enough for her to start believing her own myth. And then, the emails would start getting stuck in loops. The ticketing system would crash at random. The servers would start throwing back-end errors no one would know how to trace. The inventory systems would stop syncing correctly. And when they tried to fix it, they'd realize there were no notes, no guides, no explanations. Only Claire, standing there holding the crumbling pieces of a world she never really understood, exactly as she deserved. I submitted my resignation on a Monday morning. 2 weeks' notice, neatly typed, professionally worded. No drama, no raised voices, just another email lost in the endless noise of corporate life. Claire called me into her office within the hour. She put on her best concerned face, all knitted brows and soft sighs, but I could see the calculation flashing behind her eyes. "I'm really disappointed, Jason," she said, shaking her head like a mother scolding a child who didn't know what was good for him. "We had such big plans for you here. You're walking away from a lot of opportunities." I smiled politely, nodded, said all the right things about personal growth and new challenges. I didn't mention the real reasons. Didn't mention the work she stole, the promotion she was angling for, the empire she built on my back. There was no point. The clock was already ticking and she didn't even hear it. My last 2 weeks were uneventful, at least on the surface. I kept my head down, answered questions, wrapped up minor tasks, left behind exactly as much information as company policy required. No more, no less. And Claire? She strutted around the office like a queen anointing her successor, telling everyone how seamless the transition would be, how she had everything well in hand. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The cracks started 3 days after I left. First, it was the internal ticketing system. Glitching, freezing, tossing out automated replies in endless loops. Then the server backups started throwing sync errors. Then the onboarding portal went down during a major hiring push. Emails started flying, urgent tickets piled up. By the end of the first week, I heard, through a few still friendly contacts, that the entire IT department was drowning. And Claire was scrambling. trying to bluff her way through high-level meetings with half-baked excuses and frantic finger-pointing. She couldn't explain why critical automations were failing, couldn't fix the broken processes, couldn't even access half the core systems without triggering lockouts she didn't understand. Because she never knew. She never built it, never maintained it, never cared enough to learn. And now, without me quietly patching the cracks behind the scenes, the polished facade she loved so much was collapsing under its own weight, exactly like it deserved to. I heard later, unofficially, that her promotion was postponed pending further evaluation. That upper management had started asking hard questions she couldn't answer, that she was reassigned to a non-operational role within a few months. Some said she quit out of embarrassment. Others said she was pushed out quietly to avoid a bigger mess. Honestly, I didn't really care. By then, I was already thriving in my new job, surrounded by people who valued real skills over polished performances. And every time I walked into a clean, bright office where my ideas were actually recognized, I smiled a little inside, not out of pettiness, not out of spite, but out of pure, simple satisfaction. Because I hadn't just survived Claire's game, I had beaten her at it, without ever raising my voice, without breaking a single rule. And that kind of victory, it tastes better than revenge ever could. Looking back now, I don't regret anything. Not the long nights, not the weekends I gave up, not even trusting the wrong person. Because every mistake I made, every ounce of effort that got stolen, every idea that was paraded around without my name on it, it all taught me something I never would have learned otherwise. That loyalty means nothing to people who only see you as a tool. That working hard isn't enough if you're handing your work to someone who's just waiting for the credit. That if you don't protect your value, someone else will happily claim it for themselves. Claire thought she was untouchable because she knew how to smile in meetings, because she knew how to play the game, because she could talk faster than she thought. But systems don't run on charm. They run on real knowledge, on real work, on the people willing to do the ugly, complicated, thankless tasks no one claps for. And when you take those people for granted, when you build your throne on their sweat without understanding what holds it up, you're just one resignation away from watching it all fall apart. If you're in a place right now where your work isn't valued, where your voice is drowned out, where someone else shines off the light you bled to build, remember, you don't have to stay. You don't owe your loyalty to anyone who only wants your labor, not your success. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness. It's survival. It's strength. It's the start of something better, something real. Because no matter how good the liars and users are at playing the game, at the end of the day, real builders always win. It just takes time, and the guts to know when it's time to walk away and let the empire fall